Hey everybody, it's Nick here from Greyscalegorilla, and today I wanted to show you my absolute new favorite feature in Cinema 4D R18. So let's head on in and let's start breaking stuff. All right, so here we are in R18, and I wanted to show you this right here. If you go to the Mograph object, or Mograph menu, you're gonna see this right here, Fracture Voronoi. Still not sure how to say that word, but as always, we got some fun 3D words to learn. And this one's really, really fun to learn because it's so dang cool to play with. And what it does is it breaks your object into pieces. And so if we just take a sphere, put it in the fracture object here, it's going to instantly break it into all these cool little fragments. And what's nice about this is it's not just a shell. It's actually got depth to it. So if we take our offset fragments here and just turn this up, you're going to see we could see inside, and it's actually little chunks. And so this is really fun because it allows us to break our objects into pieces, works with type and models, all this stuff. And it's also procedural, which of course is my favorite thing about cinema. You don't have to break it into pieces permanently. It's all just in this object. So let's go over some of the features. We're not going to go through everything today. I'm sure we're going to have tons of tutorials with this in the future. Just wanted to give you a quick overview of some of these features. So first of all, you could colorize the fragments here just so we could see them in the viewport. And you could also do this offset fragments, which comes in handy with some special features here. And then in some models, you might need to click this button, optimize and close holes, and that's going to give us chunks instead of the shell. But we'll get into that later. What I really want to focus on is this sources tab. And basically, this allows us to tell this fracture object how we want to break this apart. So by default, we have this point generator distribution, and down here we says point amount. If we turn this up, you're going to see more and more points and more pieces, right? More and more, what do they call them? They call them fragments. Let's call them fragments. So more and more fragments as we go up. So we have some options here. We could use normal, and what normal looks like it does is it goes inside to out of our object. So we have more pieces on the inside than on the outside. The outside has more bigger chunks. We also have inverse normal, right? So that's outside to in. It actually gets kind of clustered up, gives us some interesting little pieces here. If we turn this off, you can see little pieces here, large pieces on top. So there's some different ways we could break this apart. But where it starts to get more powerful, I think, is where you go to exponential. Now what this does is allows you to break from left to right, up to down, or front to back. And what this allows you to do is kind of decide where your impact point will be, and then put more pieces around your impact point, and then allow the bigger pieces to kind of fall off. And when we get into the dynamics, which we will in a second, I'll show you why this is so powerful. Before we do, I wanted to show you just a couple other ways to break stuff apart. And you can just delete these out of sources, and you can add a new distribution source, which is what we just went over. You could add a new shader source. Now what this allows you to do is break based on your gradients or your noise and stuff like that. So if I come in and say gradient, you're going to see I get something similar to that exponential. It's more pieces on the left, less pieces on the right. And now we're controlling it with the gradient. So we could actually come in here and say only in the middle do I want you to break, right? So now it's breaking more in the middle and less on the outsides. And you can see this gradient's just running through our object. You can map these gradients along your object. And again, this just gives you more control. And you can also stack them. So you could have more than one in the same. And then it'll listen basically to both of these. So what other ways can you do it? I've also been experimenting with this here. So you could break according to a matrix object. So a matrix object, let's select here. You just drag your matrix object in. And what's really fun about this is, I'm just going to shrink this down, is it gives you some kind of geometric shapes, which is really fun. So now this is actually getting broken up into squares. And if I do something more like this, you can see it's really breaking apart into these little objects. And if I scale it up, boom, it's going to reset. Now it's basically put a bunch of squares, kind of almost like a cookie cutter. It's just cut a bunch of little brownie pieces out of our sphere here. And so that's the matrix object. What's cool about this is you can add effectors to the matrix object, and then it will respect those as well. So I'm just going to turn it off in the viewport. But the matrix object is really powerful because you can start to control with clones how this breaks apart. So all this is great and all, but if you're like me, you instantly wanted to go, I need to make this dynamic. So let me show you how they set this up. It's really easy to set up dynamics. Let's go in and make a floor. And I'm sure you guys know this. If not, here's a good chance to learn some basic dynamics. We're going to go to tags, simulation, collider body. That's going to give the floor a collider. Then we're going to go to our fracture, and we're going to add simulation rigid body. And you can see when we hit play, it only acts as like a whole piece of sphere. It doesn't fall to the ground. And in order to make this a little easier to see, I'm just going to go back to our distribution source just so it's real basic. And you can see it's just acting like a whole sphere. We have to tell our dynamics to use this individual elements. We want to set it either to top level, or I just set it to all. That's going to break it all apart. So now, boom, pieces fall into the ground. It acts really, really fast. I'm going to add a little bit more friction just so they don't slide all over the place like that. Look a little bit more like rocks or something. And then watch how fast this is. This is really, really, this seems pretty fast to me. The ability to just kind of crank this up and have like hundreds of dynamic chunks fall around. And again, if we go to something like exponential, you're going to see that it's going to break more on the left than on the right. And so that's where you could start to set up your dynamic kind of fractures where things can explode. And so I'll show you a very basic version of that. And then that'll be it for this video. But again, we're going to go really in depth with how to use this in your motion graphics pieces and your designs. If you wanted your logos to break apart, I mean, this is going to be really, really fun. But I wanted to just give you a little hint today. So let me show you how to basically set this up so it doesn't break until something hits it, right? That was my next question with playing with this. So how do I just let it sit there and then let something else fly in and then it'll break it apart? So if we take our another sphere, just kind of set this over here, we could add a dynamic tag to this as well. Now I'm going to go into dynamics. I'm going to say custom initial velocity. This is going to be positive X, and that's because I see the arrow right here. This red arrow, that's X, Y, Z. I want this to fling out positive X. It's almost like I'm throwing it, and I want it to hit right there, right? So far, so good, but this dynamics is happening right away. I don't want it to happen right away. I want it to happen on collision. So it's right here. Dynamics, trigger immediately on collision. Let's back up. And now when this ball hits it, it breaks. We also get these ones up here that don't fall because they didn't really get collided with. So one last little thing I'm going to do here, and that's just go to our dynamics tag on our little sphere and add extra mass. I'm going to go to custom density, and I'm going to say 20. This is going to make it penetrate further and just kind of break it apart. So there we go. We have, I'm going to move this away so we can see that it's standing still until it's hit. Boom. And so really quickly, we got this nice, animation, and it all looks, good. You could texture this. Let me texture this, and I'll say one last thing about texturing, which is you can also texture the inside and the outside separately, which I really dig. So almost forgot about that. I did not want to forget about that. So you can actually set that tag up just like I did, and I'll make the outside. Let's make the inside orange because that's what I like. Gonna add both tags to our fracture, and you can see the fracture object itself has selections, inside faces. Here's my selection. If I go to the texture, drag in selection, I render it now. It's gonna be white on the outside. And when it breaks apart, it's going to be orange on the inside. So you have some control there about what different faces look like, different reflections, texture it differently, make it extra bumpy inside, all that stuff. So as you can see, this is going to be kind of a game changer for a lot of artists to easily be able to shatter stuff like this, take objects, break them apart, experiment with this. I think you're going to see a lot more of this style around. And I'm still learning about this. It's very new to me, and I hope to be learning a lot more. And of course, as I do, I'm going to be making more videos. So stay tuned. We have plenty more planned with this new fracture object and some fun ways that you could add it to your workflow. So stay tuned. Sign up to the newsletter. We'll be putting these out and sending them directly to you as we make them. So I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in another video really soon. Keep learning. Bye, everybody.